Have you ever been hung up on? Let me tell you about a time I was hung up on. Now trust me, I've been hung up on many times before this one, but the time I'm going to share with you is extra memorable for me. I mean, at this point in my life, I hated the phone. I figured one of two things were going to happen to me. Either they were going to answer, be annoyed, and hang up on me, or they weren't going to answer at all, which I actually preferred because that way I didn't get verbally abused, right? So I, Collin Fett, come from the bustling metropolis of Ames, Iowa, to admit one thing. I was afraid of the phone. At this point in my career, my coach helped me set some goals. We had some big goals. And he said, if we're going to get over your mindset around the phone, we've got to put a plan in place. So the plan was, every morning, 8 a.m., I get to the office, and I bang out my hour of power, right? Get everything set up, ready to go. So this particular morning, it's an internet lead that came in the night before. I knew it would be the first call I'd have to make. So I get everything set up, knots in my stomach when I get to the office. I got everything set up. I got my standing desk, got my computer, I've got my pencils, pens, I got my water, I got everything ready to go, right? Start dialing in the phone number. But then I realized my water wasn't full. You can't start phone calls without a full water. So I went, filled up my water, got back. All right, now would be a good time to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, got that taken care of, got back, checked my emails, filled up my water again. About 8:35, I make that call. Her name was Dee, and she had inquired about a property in a nearby town. Got her on the phone. I nervously answered, "Hey, Dee, this is Collin with Remax," and she was not happy to hear from me. She laid into me, "You goddamn realtors, you're all the frickin' same, da-da-da." It went on for probably minute and a half, click. She hangs up on me. I didn't get another word in. I'm totally demoralized. I tell my coach about it. This mean old lady just reamed me on the phone. I said, "Coach, I'm not made out for phone calls. Can we figure out a texting plan?" Luckily, I've got a great coach, and he pushed me to get back out there. He said, "Collin, just have fun with it. Be yourself." He said, "Pretend you're talking to your grandma." I said, "Okay, that seems simple enough." Next day, get to the office, got everything set up, got my water full this time. And I said, "What do I say when I'm talking to grandma?" Well, I'm excited when I talk to my grandma. So, "Good morning, grandma. It's Collin. How's your day going?" So I think the same way when I'm talking to Dee. I call her up and I say, "Good morning, Dee. It's Collin Fett with Remax. How are you this morning?" And it went completely different from there. She was, we rambled on for 20 minutes. She was telling me about her, grandkids and how she wants to move closer to Ames where they live. And we stayed in contact probably daily until we found the house that she wanted. 2 months later, we're sitting at the closing table together. I feel awesome. I'm like, this is awesome. She's got the house of her dreams. I just closed a deal with a mean old lady. And I told my coach, I said, "Coach, I figured it out. It's this simple, right? Whenever I'm talking to leads on the phone, I just need to pretend." There we go. I'm talking to grandma, right? I just need to pretend I'm talking to grandma. He said, "Well, Collin, I think you're off to a great start, but let's figure out why you were successful on this phone call so that way we can duplicate it on other phone calls." I said, "Okay, that sounds pretty good." And he had to make it super simple for me. Just to give you a little insight on where I was at in my life and my business, when I'd started coaching, I was fresh to real estate, just got into the business. I was a 22-year-old kid fresh out of college. Months ago, I was sitting in lecture halls texting my friends, and now I'm trying to get on the phone to convince people to have me help them make the largest financial decision of their life. I knew so little about real estate that when I got started, everybody was saying, "Yeah, you're a realtor. You're working in realty." So when I made my first Facebook page, I spelled it Fett Realty. Luckily, I had a great broker. He straightened me out. He said, Collin, that's Fett reality. Could have got interesting. So what I'm going to share with you guys today, it's going to be super simple, but it's going to be things that you guys can implement right away. The first thing he told me was we got to work, well, actually, he said the first thing is your lead conversion. That's really the foundation to all successful real estate agents. He said, you're brand new, you don't know anything, so let's start off there. I said, okay. And he said, really, there's three things when it comes to lead conversion. This doesn't matter what lead source you're working, it's these things that we need to work on with you. He said, number one was getting over your fear of the phone. He said, number two was putting together a follow-up system. So if you don't have a follow-up system, leads are going to start falling through the cracks. And number three was lack of a tracking system. He said, if you don't track it, it doesn't exist. So we started off with my mindset around phone calls. And he said, Collin, people are like mirrors. He said, what the heck does that have to do with my mindset around phone calls? He said, listen. He said, people are like mirrors. They reflect back to you how you make them feel. So if you're nervous on the phone and you're worried that they're going to be angry when you call them, well, then they're going to reflect that back to you, and they're going to be angry when you call them. But if you're confident and calm and excited and know that they're going to be excited to talk to you, well, then they're going to reflect that back, and they're going to be excited to talk to you. So he challenged me to test it out with my friends and family members. He said, what are you doing when you're talking to friends and family members that is making this conversation flow good, but you're not doing with leads on the phone? And I challenge you guys to do the same thing. When you get home, talk to a friend, a college, roommate, or a buddy from back home, or a grandma, or a wife, husband, and figure out what are you doing on those conversations that you aren't doing when you're talking to leads. So I picked out 5 things that I found that I was doing when I was communicating with friends, but wasn't doing when I was communicating with prospects. So number 1 was my tone and my rhythm. I realized when I'm talking to friends, we kind of match up and we have the same tone, we have the same rhythm, the communication connects. But when I'm talking to prospects, I'm super nervous and we don't connect at all. I'm all choppy and worried about what to say next. When I was able to just start to do little things like matching what they're saying, I was able to connect better with them. Number 2 was to pause and listen. I realized when I was talking to friends, a normal conversation is to ask a question, get a response, and then, ask another question, or they ask you a question. What I realized when I was talking to leads, I knew the script, so I would ask the question, wait about a half a second. If they wouldn't answer, I'd ask the next question, then ask the next question, and they would hang up on me. So once I learned that if I just ask the question and pause, they'll eventually answer me. Sometimes it's an awkward pause. Number 3, and this is a big one. This can turn you from being just an average agent to being an extraordinary agent. You see, an average agent will ask for the business. Oh, will you please work with me? But an extraordinary agent will say, of course you're going to work with me. Who else are you going to work with? An average agent will say something like, can we get together? An extraordinary agent will say when we get together. An average agent will say, can we work together? But an extraordinary agent will say, as we're working together. You see, an average agent will say, if you choose to work with me. But an extraordinary agent will say, while we're working together. Being able to have this, being able to have this confidence on the phone was huge for me and able to convert a lot more leads. All right. Number 4 was telling the sales story. I realized that everyone likes to buy, but no one likes to get sold. And when I can tell the sales story, it allowed me to get over that barrier with people. It didn't have to be a crazy story. It could be, about a past client that was in a similar position that they are, or just about, our dogs that are similar, just something that we can connect to. I realized that, when when I was, I did a little research and figured out that, when I tell a story with someone, there's actually chemicals released in the brain called the connection chemical that helps us to connect with people. Number five, and this is a big one, following script. Tom always talks about following a script. The key thing with a script is not to sound scripted. It's to have it so ingrained that you know what you're going to say next so you can listen and respond to the other person. This way, the conversation is flowing towards the next step in the sales process and not just having a friendly conversation. Putting these things in place, I was able to really move my business forward. Things are going good. I felt awesome. My coach is like, yeah, you're doing great, but remember, step number 2 was to create a follow-up system. I was too busy. We've all been there, too busy for the next thing that our coach puts on us. Until it happened to me. I got a text from a buddy, Josh. He said, Jordan's looking to buy a house. Here's his number. So I called Jordan, leave him a voicemail. He didn't answer, so I shot him a text message. At this point in my career, my follow-up system was looking through past text messages, looking through past phone calls, and seeing who haven't I talked to. So Jordan, a week and a half later, I realized, shoot, I haven't talked to Jordan yet. So I get him on the phone. He's super excited to hear from this time. He said, yeah, Collin, Josh told me all about you. This is great. We actually had a ton of questions for you because, you see, we were at an open house this weekend, and we got an offer accepted with the agent there. I almost threw up. Luckily, I had a great coach, pep me up, and we put a follow-up system in the next day. Remember, I'm a 22-year-old kid at this point that can't spell realty. It had to be a simple follow-up system. So my follow-up system goes like this, and this is just to get that initial contact. So my follow-up system, it's a 10-day follow-up system, and I've got a grid form for you. Whoops, I went ahead one there. So it's a 10-day follow-up system, and I've got morning, noon, and evening for the days that I am, or for the time of day that I'm contacting them. So day 1, and this is like, if it's an internet lead, obviously I'm not waiting until the next morning. I'm calling it right when it comes in. So day 1, I'm calling first thing in the morning or first thing when the lead comes in, again at lunch, and then I'm shooting them a quick text. Day 2, I'm calling and I'm emailing. Day 3, I'm sending a video. So it's just a quick bomb video, 15, 20 seconds. It's personalized. Hey, Jordan, it's Collin. Josh told me about you. I'm excited to help you find your house. Quick subject line is, hey, Jordan. And then I'm going to give him a call with my second phone number. So I've got 2 phone numbers. I made a Google Voice number so I can kind of have my incognito number, if you will. So I have 2 different numbers I can call from. Day number 4, during the lunch hour, I'm going to call and I'm going to text them. Again, I've got the scripts online of what I'm actually saying and doing, but it's always something really short. I'm never emailing or texting them a long paragraph. It's really to the point. It's always a question. Day number 5, and I'm calling them, and then I'm sending them a Facebook message. So then day number 6, another video. Again, it's super personal, 10, 15 seconds, and it's right to the point. Excited to help you, Jordan. This is Collin, and my contact info is below. Day 7, I'm texting and I'm emailing them. Day 8, over the lunch hour, I'm going to call them. Day 9, I'm calling them with my second number. And then day 10, I'm calling, I'm texting, and I'm emailing them. So if I don't contact them, I will reach out to them on a weekly basis with emails and calls. If I do contact them, I'm putting them in one of 3 buckets. So bucket number 1 is the engaged bucket where they're looking to buy or sell in the next, right now to the next 3 months. Future is they're looking to buy or sell in the next 3 months to a year. And then inactive is where they're not looking to do anything anytime soon, but I want to keep in contact with them, keep them on my monthly mailers, my quarterly calls, so that way when they are ready or they'll think of me for a referral. So putting these things in place, things are starting to go good for me. I was starting to get, some conversion down, and my coach said, sweet, what's your conversion rate? He said, have you been tracking? I said, well, kind of. But he hadn't really been tracking. He said, Collin, we set some big goals this year. If we want to reach those big goals, we got to be able to track so we know exactly where your conversion rate is, what lead source is getting you the most conversion, and then be able to manipulate the numbers from there. So again, 22-year-old kid can't spell realty at this time, it had to be simple. So every day, I've got a notebook. I just open up a new page in the notebook. Down the left-hand side, I'm writing leads, or I'm writing my different lead sources. And across the top, I'm writing leads, calls, and conversations. And as I'm making my calls, I'm just making a check mark with the calls I make. If I have a conversation with them, or we have a texting conversation, I put a check mark there. I do this every single day. And at the end of the week, I have a monthly tracker that I put them on. I've got the month tab at the bottom, and then I've got a running total for the year tab. And so I just use an Excel doc. I've got my lead sources down the side. Again, I start every month at 0, and then I total it up throughout the month. And then I also track, I track leads, calls, and conversations, but I'm also tracking appointments, closings, volume, and GCI. And then for buyers and sellers, I'm also tracking more specific on each one of those. So buyers, I'm tracking the appointments I'm going on. I'm tracking the purchase agreements I'm getting signed. I'm tracking the houses I've shown. And then I'm tracking the closings. And then for sellers, I'm tracking the listing appointments, listings taken, and the closings. So putting these things in place, everything really started to come full circle for me. Like my coach said, the lead follow-up, lead conversion is really a foundation. So having this three-prong, getting over the fear of the phone, having a follow-up system, and having a tracking system, I was able to actually see hey, I'm going from getting hung up on all the time by mean old ladies to now converting over 25% conversion rate. And so as I promised, I kept it easy for you. Thank you. So as promised, I kept it easy for you guys. There's really 3 things for you guys to remember. Number 1, talk to your leads like you're talking to friends. Number 2 is create a follow-up system. And number 3 is to create a tracking system. Now remember, what's easy to do is also easy not to do. So promise yourself, when you get home from the conference, you'll put these things into practice. I did, and it changed my life. I went from grossing less than $20,000 to over $250,000 in less than 3 years. And guys, if there's one thing that I know, is that if I can do it, so can you. D? Hey. Oh, hey, D. Yeah, I was just telling some friends about you. Yeah, the mean old, yeah, I know, yeah, I'm sorry about that. You want to buy another house? Fantastic. Well, I'll call you back soon. All right, bye. Happy prospecting.